trying to figure out what just happened. Oh.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. They were looking really good there, and not really sure. They nosed in and took the wing off, but
getting a report that it might have brushed the wall earlier in the lap. Ah, right there, setting up for the corner, so perhaps that led to some damage. In any event, the pursuit of $1 million most likely ends in the outside retaining wall, turn 1 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Polymove.
You see the brakes locked up there as it's coming off the track. The car definitely sensed a problem and started slowing down, and just couldn't get it slowed down in time.
Now, in the event, which is unlikely, but again, these teams are trying things that they've not ever tried before here in the shootout. In the event that none of the teams are able to post a speed here in the shootout, it would revert back to the fastest speed set in the previous round. This is the Polymove team talking it over, having had a chance to look at the data.
They're definitely on a good, some good flying laps there, getting warmed up, and not exactly sure what went wrong, but clearly getting into the wall there a little bit on the entry of turn 1. Just put them on a path right to stay up there. Definitely looked like they sensed that there was an issue and tried to slow down, but didn't get it done. Doesn't look like a lot of damage on the car, to be honest, but there's no way they're going to be able to get back out there.
So the cleanup now begins in turn number 1. Pretty big impact, certainly the biggest I think we've seen yet in the competition, at least from a speed at time of impact thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. Hitting the outside wall is never a good thing, and but looks like that one will live to race another day, no problem, and we'll look forward to seeing them on the track again. They were really pushing it. They hit a 157 top speed, which is really impressive.
Down to Katie in the pits. Actually, we'll check in with Katie here in just a few moments. Apologies for that. But this is a team that entered with a great deal of pressure on them. I think the spotlight was on them based on their performance back in the simulation rounds that built up to the debut of the physical cars and now the first physical competition here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the team that won in the virtual setting.
Yeah, and that must make the teams that are going to follow them a little bit nervous too, right? This is the kind of been the benchmark the whole time that everybody's been looking up to and following, and they had some sort of issue, and so I think that's going to make maybe potentially change the strategy for the remaining 2 teams, and you know, I don't know if they'll try to slow themselves down, or maybe they'll approach these warm-up laps a little bit differently.
One more time, let's take a look at the replay here, Rob. I think it's interesting, this move to the right. The car's right, screen left. Really haven't seen that from this car prior to that moment.
Yeah, and it was kind of moving out toward the wall probably a little earlier than you normally would for corner entry, so it's almost like something happened with their localization system.
This is the team's reaction. Katie, you have more?
Yeah, obviously a very disappointing end to the day for Team Polymove. Sergio, were you able to figure out just yet what went wrong with the car?
Yeah. We figured out very easily, a very simple explanation. Consider that GPS is the main, by far, the most important sensor all the team are using, of course, to localize the car. We already started with one GPS that after one lap, we have 2 GPS systems. It's redundant, it's so important, it's redundant. After half a lap, we lost the first unit completely. And here, before the crash, we completely lost also the second one. So we were virtually blind. So we triggered what we call a safe stop because we are totally blind. At that point, we have no dead reckoning at all. We have no sensor at all. The only way you can go is to go straight. And in that case, we went straight, but we were unlucky. There is a turn and we crashed. That's a total failure GPS system, both GPS system. It's a pity, but we have to accept. So we did our best.
And still, your team was able to learn a lot here from this Indy Autonomous Challenge. What do you take back to Italy? And you also mentioned a lot of car manufacturers that were keeping an eye on your team.
Okay, yeah, we have learned a lot. We were well prepared, and we were very confident to be able to make a real good lap time. But we perfectly know from the beginning, everybody knows that this is the most critical type of failure you can have. And if it happens, nothing you can do. So this is really bad luck next time. We have to accept.
Thanks for your time, Sergio.
Well, that's a situation certainly not unfamiliar to motorsports. Sometimes there are things out of your control that take you out of a race, and in this case, out of this competition. What do you make of the explanation, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, they had the data there. It sounds right, spot on. That's the primary means that the teams are navigating with these GPS systems, and they're redundant. For some reason they lost the second one, and they probably are using still the lidars to do some localization, but it's maybe they probably haven't spent as much time on those algorithms, and it would have been really hard to keep going at the speeds that they were going without that. So it's interesting to hear him just say that the car sensed that and basically shut itself down, and so it knew that it had an issue and just said, no, I can't do this anymore, and it shut down, and so it was in that emergency stop mode when it was trying to go. And it's actually one of the interesting problems that's been discussed for a while is, what do you really do in that situation? If you don't really know where you're going, do you just go straight? Do you turn the wheels, or what do you do? And in that case, the vehicle just kept going straight and hit the brakes as hard as it could. And it's an unfortunate ending for them. They've just done a great job throughout this whole competition.
That whittles the field now down to just 2 teams. And TUM Autonomous Motorsport from Munich in Germany, second fastest in the first round earlier today with an average up over 130 miles per hour. The first team to break that 130 mile per hour barrier at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for autonomous cars earlier this afternoon. And now, after seeing what happened to one of their closest competitors and rivals just a few moments ago in Polymove, does that change your outlook going into the second to last run of the competition?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, this is, I'm probably still going to just stick to the plan. I think they would have had to store in whatever algorithm they're going to run here before that run went. And so they probably won't make any adjustments. It really just going to depend on how much risk they're willing to take during these warm-up laps, and they'll go from there.
Interesting, though, to compare and contrast the algorithms from the 3 cars that made it here. I think TUM was very similar to Euro Racing, where the speed was quite constant all the way around the track. Yeah. Polymove had a much different approach with fast, straight-line speeds, but slower through the corners. What do you think accounts for the 2 different approaches?
I'm not really sure. I think it's just a level of trust in the corners, and also it's for the most part simpler to go straight, to go fast during the straights, and so they must have run the simulations to see that was sort of a lower risk package, and it seemed like it was working for them, to be honest with you. And we'll see how how these teams approach it. But yeah, I guess the other teams must have seen that it was easier to kind of hold a constant speed as much as possible.
This team, TUM, was so impressive, just the second team out on track, and they were running high 129 mile per hour speeds through the corners during that first run of the day, with straightaway speeds somewhat below 140 miles per hour, but the average when they ran was good enough for provisional P1. Ultimately, they were knocked down to second by that late run from Euro Racing. But this is a team that has probably the most experience throughout the field, having competed in autonomous racing at a high level previously in Robo Race, and now taking that expertise to the oval of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And running warm-up laps in the 110 range or so is really getting after it again, and but a little bit slower than what we saw earlier. And again, just trying to get the tires up to temperature so that they can go as fast as as possible during these timed laps.
This is the first of 4 warm-up laps for TUM Autonomous Motorsport. 45 team members on this staff, 15 of them are PhD students. The others are postgraduate students working on this as part of a project, coming in and out of the program, but 45 in total. And they emerged pretty early on as one of the leaders throughout all of the testing and the build-up to actual on-track testing.
Yeah, absolutely, and they were always very supportive of the other teams as well. And you know, really, Alex, their team leader, just took the lead on a lot of initiatives to help commonize some of the initial software that they wrote and to help out the other teams. They've really been a role model team in this competition.
First warm-up lap in the books and hitting a top speed on the front straightaway of 142.791 miles per hour, backing down to right around 130 through turn ones, already starting to accelerate somewhat, now backing out of it, looking at the live telemetry. And that's one thing that when this team had their spin, we learned from them, they had to work on their throttle application a little bit mid-corner. As the team watches on, waving the car by, that was something that they had to take into account that they hadn't done before.
Yeah, and here on these warm-up laps, I think they're already right around the same speeds, if not a little bit higher than when they had that issue. So clearly they've resolved whatever issues they ran into and are looking really, really strong right now. A little bit high up off the bottom line, but again, just warm-up laps, so these aren't timed.
Keeping a close eye on this car. And this team from Germany, how impressive have they been since first showing up here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? This is a team that was really anxious to take that next step, which is competing head-to-head with other cars. That's certainly part of their plans moving forward, taking this technology and moving it to the next stage. The second warm-up lap is complete, and a new high top speed of 144.7 miles per hour that last time by.
Yeah, so much for taking a conservative approach here in the warm-up. They're definitely going about as fast as they can go. We'll see what happens when they drop the green flag on this in a couple of laps.
Their lap time in round one, 130.037 miles per hour. That compares to the 131.148 from Euro Racing over the course of the two-lap average. So very, very tight between this car and the final one we will see. The next car coming up from Euro Racing. Here comes Toom through the north end of the racetrack, coming by to start the final of 4 warm-ups ahead of the 2 timed laps.
Yeah, they're looking really good here. Hopefully the tires are coming up to temperature as they want, and everything is looking good on the screens that they're monitoring in the pits. They just they're looking at tons of data all the time as the vehicle is going around and trying to make sure that everything is healthy. It's great to see them cheering on their car as they go around this famous speedway.
This team told us that the challenges of the COVID pandemic, forcing everyone to work remotely even early in the design stages before they came with the main bulk of their team here to the U.S., that actually played to their benefit. They got used to doing Zoom. They got used to doing these remote meetings in preparation, which is something they've had to rely upon as the car continues to push the boundaries up over 151 to 151.9 miles per hour.
Yeah, you can see him getting a little bit more aggressive each lap, it looks like, and taking a good line still, kind of staying away from the walls, away from that white line on the bottom, and I think they're going to be pretty strong here. No indication of any trouble so far.
Toom Autonomous Motorsport looking to take the green flag, the first of 2 timed laps, the 5-mile run here at the Indy Autonomous Challenge. The shootout has commenced for Toom Autonomous Motorsport. Roaring towards turn 1, the German team takes to the first portion of the racetrack looking nice and clean, hitting straightaway speeds up over 150 miles per hour.
Off the bottom line of the track, about a car length and a half or so, but staying away from the wall, no problem. Back away from the wall down the straightaway. And you see them kind of take an interesting approach to turn 3 the last few laps, where they kind of weave back and forth a little bit and then turn in. So we'll see if they still follow the same thing here. It's kind of a turn in, then turn back out, and then right back down in toward the apex of the corner. It's kind of interesting to see that.
Apex speeds hovering around 134 miles per hour, topping out at over 150 on the straightaways. Here comes Toom Autonomous Motorsport. out of turn number 4, looking for the white flag. They are halfway home, looking to post the first speed of the shootout at the Indy Autonomous Challenge. First lap from Toom in the books, 136.032 miles per hour.
Looking solid. Really not slowing down at all at this point. Up above that speed right now, about 140 miles an hour through the corner. So they're really pushing it.
Turn 1 marginally quicker than turn 2, dropping down to 134 through the second turn. Now down the 5/8 of a mile backstretch towards turn 3 for the final time.
Of 150 miles an hour, you can see him get off the throttle a little bit. Only down to 137 or so in the corner, and then onto the short chute.
This team has extensive experience racing in a road course environment. They said they had to switch their design philosophy totally to adjust to the nuances of oval racing. Toom Autonomous Motorsport out of turn number 4, making that drag race down to the Yard of Bricks, and the checkered flag waved by Spot. The 2-lap average for the German team coming in at 135.944 miles per hour. That is a new record for autonomous race cars at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Wow, wow, it's amazing what we just saw. They did a great job, just consistent through the whole warm-up. The car was flawless the whole time. Really pushed the limits from what we saw earlier, and it looks like it's been a little bit more cloudy outside, right? So maybe it would have even cooled down, so it really took a lot to do that. Looking pretty strong at this point. That's going to be difficult to beat.
And the challenge now falls to Euro Racing. They know what they need to beat. Do they have it? And how comfortable does this team feel? Now that's a time that will stand. They went nearly 5 whole miles per hour quicker than what Euro Racing did in round 1, but the stakes here are totally different, and so is the risk-taking.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to just turn it up and let it go. Maybe learned a little bit from watching TU Munich come through here earlier, and you know, clearly there's a lot of traction out there to make it through these corners at pretty high speed.
Here comes the car down to pit lane. Again, no obstacle avoidance in this portion of the competition. This is purely about outright speed. 2 of the 3 cars have completed their attempts, which leaves us just with Euro Racing. But the bar has been set by Toom Autonomous Motorsport. TUM stands for Technische Universität München, Technical University in Munich, Germany, with a new autonomous oval speed record of 135 miles per hour on average. Still, though, the fastest in a straight line on the oval. That still goes back on those warm-up laps to Polymove. Very impressed with what they were able to build into their programming.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This car flawlessly shuts down right by its pit box. Exactly what it was expected to do. We must be really proud of all the effort they put in and the results they just achieved. And you know, you really do have to finish to win this money. And so they put up an amazing time. And now it's you know, they're in the #1 position until somebody knocks them off. So we'll see what goes on next year.
And now the uncomfortable wait to see if anybody else can take a shot at them and knock them off their perch. Katie, what do you know?
And I am joined by Alex from Toom. Alex, you guys chose a very aggressive warm-up laps. Why do you feel like that was the right strategic choice?
So given the circumstances we have today, so really cold track, being at the end of October, one of the key challenges is to bring in temperature into the tire and bring the car into a position where we really can go that fast through the corners. I think that worked out pretty well. Obviously, that was kind of a gamble. So how fast can that car go? I think no one has ever driven that car that fast here at this venue. So let's see what your racing can do.
How do you kind of balance the nerves and being able to focus on what you need to do while your car is out on the track? Because this is a very high-pressure competition.
Yeah, so basically we try to simulate a lot and being well prepared, and then in the end it's just, yeah, this car is autonomous, so it can do it on its own.
Euro Racing was able to put up a very impressive time in round 1. Do you feel like your time will hold against them?
Let's see. I think they have probably a good chance. So being second now obviously gives them a slight advantage. Let's see if they can pull it off. I don't know. So what's actually the time we did, or the speed?
What was your speed?
Yeah.
Your speed was 135.944 miles an hour. That was your average speed.
Right. Thank you. All right. So one thing. I would really like to thank the team. So everybody being here, all those people, and especially the people back in Munich. So everyone has contributed to this, and I want to say a really big thank you. All right. That's it.
Congratulations on what you and Toom accomplished already this year.
Which position would you rather be in, Rob? The hunter or the hunted here?
I'd like to be sitting there with the time in the bank, so I think I want to be right where Team Munich is right now, because the pressure's off for them, right? They sit back and watch, and you know, they have a completed time, and we can see how difficult it is just to complete these laps as we go through. So, but UR Racing has obviously been really strong throughout the competition, but they are remember that team that didn't really get a lot of practice time in somewhat recently.
That's right. That was the story of their run. It was not a surprise to see them fast, but to see them fastest perhaps was something that raised some eyebrows. If you missed it earlier, this is a team that missed significant track time earlier this week with some hardware issues. They've changed out the GPS system, which is spec across the entire 9 competitors. Everyone has the same thing to work with, but theirs was giving them trouble, so a new system was installed. And despite the fact they had never run this car in this configuration prior to round 1 earlier, they posted what was then the fastest speed ever on an oval for an autonomous car.
Yeah, that shows you the value of their simulation and the confidence they have in their control algorithms to go out there somewhat blind and go as fast as they did. You know, it clearly shows that they're an elite team in this competition.
This is a consortium of 4 different European universities, but primarily led by the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia, as well as the University of Pisa in Italy, but they have some expertise as well from ETH Zurich, and early on got some boosts from the Polish Academy of Sciences. But since then, it's really been the 2 Italian universities that have taken control. All the staff on site are from one of those 2 great Italian institutions, and now, somewhat fitting, the Italian racing culture, so pervasive and so strong, coming now to represent Italy here at the heart of North American motorsport, Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's another one of these teams that has a lot of experience with driverless racing, and they have, you know, really shown up really strong throughout and been an outstanding competitor. Pretty hard to argue with their success here, and just been a great addition to the competition.
The high-performance real-time laboratory at the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia was founded back in 2012, and it has over 40 researchers working on developing algorithmic and software solutions for high-performance real-time systems. And I think that translates to basically this.
Yeah, this is certainly a high-performance real-time system. It's one of them, right? There are a lot of them, different types out there, but this is definitely one of them. And they're kind of going pretty slowly here, taking it pretty conservative initially. They're in the around 30 miles an hour or so on their out lap, and taking their time. But there's nothing wrong with that. Just want to make sure you get through these warm-up laps and then get up to speed.
This is the out lap again. 4 untimed warm-up laps will follow. And this is what we saw from them the first time. They took their time getting up to speed, but here on the out lap, in the north end of the racetrack, turns 3 and 4 of the oval, starting to pick up the pace a little bit. And here's the weaving back and forth to try and build tire temperature, tire pressure, bring all the systems up into the ideal optimum operating windows before they turn the car loose.
Yeah, and doing that at about 60 miles an hour, it's not something I would advise for you at home. It's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult control problem to do that weaving to warm up the tires.
And again, this is that collaboration. So we talk about what happens at the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia, but at the University of Pisa, there's a great research center there that's very involved in the design of humanoid robots, robotic hands, and they also fielded the first Italian robo-race team, which included a GPS-denied scenario that relied exclusively on LiDAR for positioning. We certainly hope that that's not the case here. They want all of those systems functioning in collaboration, if at all possible. But such great experience to draw from coming into a competition like this one.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's really all about. How do you use these different sensing, what we call modalities, in your favor, right? You have all of this sensing technology on the vehicle. How do you use all of them to get around the track as fast as possible? And they clearly have a lot of experience doing that. And it's just interesting to watch them go through this tire warm-up process. It's hard to explain how difficult that is to actually do. You know, they're not weaving a lot back and forth, but it's an effective way to warm up tires.
Is it a case where you almost have to teach the car to do something it ordinarily would not want to do?
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, right, to do that, because you really need the tires sliding a lot to kind of make that happen, to actually make it heat up for you. And so that they certainly have been practicing this for a little while before they put it on the track.
TUM Autonomous Motorsport a few moments ago set the new benchmark speed of 135.944 miles per hour. They are watching on from the pit lane as Euro Racing, out on the final run of the day, looks to supplant them and claim that $1 million prize from the Lilly Endowment. It has been so instrumental in helping to get this Indy Autonomous Challenge off the ground.
Right up into the mid-130s, just like that. They just took off and looking pretty solid.
When the car can achieve that speed seemingly on command, that's typically a good sign.
Yeah, these cars are really fast. There's no doubt about it. And you do have to make sure you have your vehicle dynamics modeling down really well when you hit the gas like that, because it's a lot of power to be putting into the rear tires. And but they flawlessly did that, and handling gear shifts and all of that, no problem. They're really looking solid.
What do you make of the racing line that we've seen so far as we look at the Euro Race team compared to what we saw from TUM earlier?
I think it was a little bit similar. I haven't caught too much of it, but it looks pretty similar, a little bit off the bottom line, maybe a lane or so. We'll see what happens when they get into the timed laps.
These cars mimicking what you see the real-world Indy Lights cars do down these long straightaways, coming to the center of the track. Why is that?
Right, just to try to keep any kind of wall effect off of the vehicle. They're pushing a lot of air around them, and you don't really want that air to sort of bounce off the wall, if you will, and back onto the wings and create more drag, and so they pull away from the walls. And this car actually was a little bit smoother on entry as well. It didn't do much weaving on entry. It just kind of straight into the corner, hit the apex, and then powered off.
This is the second of 2 warm-up laps. It's been nice and steady these last few. Their best lap so far, going back to the first round, was 131.176 miles per hour. We don't get the speeds on these warm-up laps right now, but indications are they should be higher than that. But terminal velocity so far just 135.3. Compare that to TUM, which put up 151.925 miles per hour on the straightaways. And unless they've got something in the tank here for the green flag laps, and they might, that's going to be nearly impossible to overcome.
Yeah, you're judged on average speed, so if you can keep that average speed up through the corners, you may very well win with not having the highest top speed down the straightaway.
Great look at the speed, just amazing. This car driving itself around the world's most famous oval. There's the telemetry pouring off the car in real time for the team to analyze. This will be the final warm-up lap that this car is about to embark upon. And then the dash for the cash.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting nervous watching this. It's really something to see. We're really watching history here as they're on the track.
I misspoke. This now is the green flag, the start of the first timed lap. And on that last straightaway, 142 miles per hour. That is the fastest we've seen Euro Racing go in a straight line. Can they push that boundary a little bit further here down the backstretch?
Yeah, they actually went 140.
Apologies, this is still the 4th warm-up lap. We saw a green flag displayed on timing and scoring, so I misspoke. But they will be taking the official green flag this time by.
Yeah, and just going through the corners at 140 here, so looking really solid for them. No issues, perfect line through the corners, staying away from the walls, and obviously the white line down at the bottom. They're just really smooth coming out. Great exit.
There's the green flag from Spot, ready to go. Just 5 miles left in the Indy Autonomous Challenge, powered by Cisco. Euro Racing trying to knock Toom off the top step. Coming into turn 1, posting straightaway speeds up over 140 miles per hour and keeping those speeds up over 140 through the corners, Rob.
Yeah, they're on it right now. No problems. They're looking great. Got through the short chute, no problem. Off the corner, right down that long back straightaway.
This could be competing philosophies here. Toom electing to go for the high straightaway speeds, but backing it down for the corners. Much more consistent for Euro Racing with speeds both through the corners and down the straights, hovering right around 142, 143.
Yeah, not really pushing it any higher down the straightaway, but it's these center corner speeds are really high, and this is really it's looking pretty promising for him right now.
The speed to beat, a 135.944. That is a 2-lap average, and the record for an autonomous car on an oval set just a few minutes ago by Toom Autonomous Motorsport. Euro Racing across the yard of bricks. The first lap is complete. It's a 139.009 miles per hour.
Wow.
But they still need to complete one more lap, and the car has backed down to under 90 miles per hour. So some confusion here, perhaps.
Yeah, they appear to be letting off and maybe thinking this is over. So I'm not sure, or maybe the car sensed an issue.
Looks of confusion on the teams down in the pit lane. We will effort an explanation as soon as we can get one. That first lap would have been fast enough, but it's worth remembering it is a 2-lap average that is required to win the prize. This is the Toom team looking on with apprehension written all over their faces as well.
Back up to 90 miles an hour here.
What in the world has happened here? Euro Racing was doing everything right, set that new record, just a shade under 140 mile per hour average lap, but backed out of it significantly and has not gone back up over 100 miles per hour. Here comes the car to complete the second timed lap, and not at the pace that would be required to knock Toom off of its perch. So despite setting the single fastest lap, Euro Racing cannot surpass the speed from Toom Autonomous Motorsport, and the German team provisionally is set to claim the $1 million prize in the Indy Autonomous Challenge powered by Cisco.
Amazing what we just saw. They put up the fastest lap we'd seen all day. And not really sure what happened yet, but they were competitive there, and I think if they could have kept it going, they may have taken the title. So no doubt a great effort on their part, and a great addition to this competition the whole time they've been here, and it was great to see them out there and seeing that car flying through the corners like that.
Wow, high drama late in the going at the Indy Autonomous Challenge. It looks as though Toom Autonomous Motorsport from Technische Universität München is set to claim the big prize. Katie down in the pits has an update.
And I'm with Marco Bertogna from Team Euro Racing. Marco, it looked like everything was going right for a great comeback for Euro Racing. What happened on that final lap?
We set an incredible speed. It was great, amazing. Probably we forgot to have one more lap. It's the last moment bugs, typical of computer science. That this time hurts a lot.
Very disappointing, obviously, but you still have a smile on your face. Your students accomplished so much already.
I'm so proud of them. That's incredible, and that's not over here. So there will be other challenges. Let me also take the occasion to a big thank to our main sponsor, the Technology Innovation Institute, which helped us a lot in this challenge.
Congratulations. We'll see you down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, that's the explanation, and that has to be a tough one to stomach. Translate for us. What did you hear?
First of all, it's really heartbreaking for them, and it sounds like they really just missed the fact that there were 2 laps needed there at high speed, and clearly the car was capable of winning it, and so it's a tough one. But you know what, it happens. It's been a lot of change over the past few days. They've hectically been trying to work on the car and get it together, and you know, they did a great job. It just they made a I guess what sounds like a simple mistake, but when you look at the competition, it's sort of easy for that to happen, and really did a good job. They can't hang their heads low on that one.
No, and they'll go into the record books for having the fastest speed in a closed course oval for an autonomous car for a single lap. I mean, that one lap was breathtaking to see. The fact that there was no alteration of speed whatsoever from straightaway to corner.
Now, perfect line, super smooth navigation all the way around. They clearly had a really good set of algorithms in that computer to win this competition, and just a sort of a simple mistake took them out.
These will be the happy winners. TUM Autonomous Motorsport invested so much into this project. When we talk about 45 staff members working on this, 15 PhD students focusing in on this, at a certain point, resources make a difference in autonomous racing, just as they do in driving normal racing.
Yeah, absolutely. The larger teams can look at more aspects and really engineer very good solutions around very fine details, and just with more people, it allows you to do that. It's the same in any other form of motorsports, and also, of course, experience. Right, there's one of the most experienced teams out there, and you saw all of that on display today, and they won the competition outright.
Looking back on the day as a whole, Rob, so many highs, so many lows, teams pushing boundaries that maybe they'd not seen before, or in some cases anyone had seen before. It was a history-making day today.
Absolutely. It was beyond expectations, I think, for me, for sure, and I think everybody will be really, really relieved, with how things went. It was just really, really enjoyable to watch and to see what these teams took and ran with, and the speeds they were able to accomplish, and just honestly, just running down at this famous speedway, and the goosebumps you get every time you walk into this place. It's so fun to see, and all the teamwork that these teams, and the collaboration, I think, amongst teams has just been one of a kind, and really, really enjoyed it.
You've been a part of this project since the beginning. There at Clemson University, the Deep Orange program worked to put these cars together, designed this platform, the AV21, with this race car going back to its inception. Rob, at that time, could you have imagined the level of achievement we saw today?
At the time it felt like it was very possible, and then unfortunately the pandemic came around, right? And obviously nobody saw that coming, and then at that time it became pretty tough, and it was really difficult. But honestly, when we got here and saw the practice on Thursday, it was amazing, and it was breathtaking to see. And these teams, they found a way to work under those adverse conditions during the pandemic, and I can't believe what we just watched, to be honest with you. I'm totally blown away and super impressed with all the teams.
For the European teams especially, they had extra hurdles to clear to be here, and for them to sweep the top 3 spots, yes, perhaps they do have some more resources behind them. Perhaps they've been working in this realm for longer than some of their American counterparts, but they did have additional challenges that the American teams did not.
Yeah, absolutely. They just weren't even allowed to get into the country there for a little while, and so very, very difficult. And obviously they're a long way from home, and so you can't fault them. They did a great job. I mean, just the results show it. There's no arguing with the results they came up with, and just super, super impressive.
Where does the autonomous industry head next, especially with the racing application? It wasn't racing per se, but certainly close to it, with full-scale race cars, the time trials format, and every indication that wheel-to-wheel autonomous racing might not be too far down the road.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the next step. Get multiple cars out on the same track and let them have at it, and trying to decide whether or not that passing should be orchestrated at all, or just let them have at it, just like you would see in any normal race. And that's clearly the next step. And I think we're probably closer to that than we realize right now. I know the teams have already pushed that a good ways forward.
To your point, we have seen, perhaps not here today, but in the build-up, there were a few teams that requested that chance to push those boundaries, even at the risk of what happened here on race day or on competition day. There have been autonomous overtakes made with full-scale race cars, and before this weekend, that's been a rarity.
Absolutely, yeah. They went out there and did it, and it's a very difficult problem. If you think about that, you have to be thinking about where the other car is going to go and make sure your line is safe to get around them within the traction limits of the vehicle.
This is the happy team and their machine that got the job done. Beautiful race car, beautiful livery. And we're there now. Time for the award of the big prize. Katie, you're standing by.
And Paul Mitchell, the president and CEO of Energy Systems Network, of course, wants to congratulate TUM. Paul, what do you have to say to the winners of today's competition?
First of all, it was an amazing day. Thank you to all of our sponsors. NiCAD is here from Cisco, our presenting sponsor. But really, all I can say is congratulations. What you did today was historical, and I have your $1 million check.
Team with the big check that they've all been competing for, building towards for the last couple of years. It's been a huge effort just to get here for this moment. Let's hear from the team now with Katie.
And congratulations to TUM. We'll do a few more quick photos of Paul and that $1 million check with TUM. And of course, we'll need to do that famous kissing of the bricks here in just a few moments with all of these students. A team of 45 total, 15 PhD students. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to step in real quickly and get a few words from Alex. Alex, it looked like for a minute that Euro Racing might have topped your speed. How nerve-wracking were those final moments for TUM?
So that lap from Euro Racing was really impressive, and I think they probably set the lap record here. So yeah, huge congratulations to them. I think their team did a great job, and yeah, finally in the end, we had a little bit of luck. So probably that's what made the difference here for us.
One of your priorities was to congratulate Euro Racing and your other competitors. How important has that friendly rivalry been along this process?
So, given all the difficulties we faced, I think we progressed as a group. During all these weeks here, we helped out each other in sometimes smaller things, sometimes bigger things, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. And that's just something which was a great experience to be here. So it felt right for us to go there because they did a great performance, and we wanted to congratulate them on that.
Finally, I got to ask you, $1 million check to take home to Germany. What does this mean for your program?
So I think that check is really going to set us ready for the next level of what we want to achieve. So that's really helping us to fundraise or to fund things what we want to do next.
All right, finally, it's a tradition here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The winners kiss the bricks. Can I ask you guys, these bricks, to get down, everyone, your whole team, all of TUM, the traditional kissing of the bricks here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Everybody go ahead and kneel along this famous yard of bricks where winners have made history here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'll count you down once you're all ready. So on the count of 3, we'll have you all kiss the bricks. All right, TUM, congratulations on winning the inaugural Indy Autonomous Challenge. You may now kiss the bricks. Ryan and Rob, what an incredible moment. History is made on these famous yard of bricks. Once again, a great day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The first ever winners of an autonomous driving competition at this 112-year-old venue that has seen so many firsts in the automotive and racing world. Another one on site here today. Let's look at the highlights from today's racing. It all got started with spot from Boston Dynamics, waving the green flag, and right off the bat, some impressive lap times early despite totally different conditions than many of these teams were used to seeing.
Yeah, then a little accident here. You know, just an issue that Hawaii had. Not a big deal because they didn't hit anything too hard, but they got out there and competed. They had been struggling all week.
Unfortunately, the same could not be said for that team. That was a crash for the Mid-Pit RW squad, the only student-run operation in this competition. This was the Cavalier Autonomous Racing team. Very impressive for a moment. They were among the top 3 set for the shootout. Then this wall contact late in the going that had major implications.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sounds like something happened with their guidance systems, and they had to shut down and they got into the fence, unfortunately.
That was the Polymove team that had made it through to the shootout. That set up this run here for Toom, setting some remarkable speeds in a straight line, although not as fast as Polymove, but up over 150 miles per hour. Their 2-lap average was over 135 miles per hour at 135.944. It looked like it was going to be this team here that had the job done, but slowing down on the final lap. Euro race coming to a halt as the checkered flag waved. Only one fast lap. It would have been quick enough, but they didn't have the second one, so the victory goes to Toom.
Yeah, that's just an outstanding event today. Really, really enjoyed it. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
We certainly did as well, thanks to Katie down in the pits and for Rob, as today technology was pushed to past all pre-existing boundaries. Carl Fisher, James Allison, Arthur Newby, and Frank Wheeler, the 4 founders of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, surely would be smiling to know that 112 years after their track was built, it still is the ultimate proving ground for automotive innovation. Some of the brightest minds in the world's most prestigious universities set out today to push the frontier of autonomous driving into the future, and led by Toom, they proved what dedication, resourcefulness, and daring, when coupled with opportunity, can achieve. Congratulations to Toom Autonomous Motorsport, champions of the Indy Autonomous Challenge, powered by Cisco.